with your host, Andrew Romanella.
When you play Battle in Mario Kart and you don't turn off any of the items, there are bananas everywhere. I mean, it's like you're losing your balloons because you're slipping on bananas left and right. Bananas everywhere. What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another edition of The Rome Show here on 12ouncesports.com, broadcasting live on YouTube and X. I am your host, Andrew Romanella. We got you here for the next 30 minutes and change, and we want you to get in on the action. So join us on the social media, The Rome Show 1, Instagram, Facebook, X, TikTok. You know the drill. Wherever you get your social media, just search The Rome Show 1. The mothership 12OZ Sports won't last much longer, so you must go to the Romanellas on YouTube. That is the Romanellas on YouTube. It sits behind me on this whiteboard right here, so that on September 2nd, you get all the latest of The Rome Show. Finally, The Rome Show podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts. Just search The Rome Show podcast. So if you missed this part of the show, any part of the show, the whole show, or it's just simply easier for you to listen to it as a podcast, just find The Rome Show podcast. What a show we have planned for the people today. We start with a lot of bests and a lot of worsts from over the weekend. Weekend's best and worst, which will take us all the way through the National Football League, Major League Baseball, Little League Baseball, the PGA Tour, and more. And then we continue in the National Football League. 32 teams, 32 days, getting you ready for the start of the National Football League season. We remain in the AFC South, okay, with the third team of the AFC South, the Indianapolis Colts. So stick with us around 7:20, 7:22, whenever our commercial break happens. After that, 32 teams, 32 days, Indianapolis Colts. Let's get started here today with a little weekend's bests and a little weekend's worst here on The Rome Show. We will hit the music. All right, starting out with the worst of the weekend. Number one, we start out in Tennessee, talking about the Tennessee Titans, but more specifically, their quarterback, Cam Ward. Now, Cam Ward was the number one overall pick in the 2025 NFL draft. And we are not about to make a determination on how good this man's career is based on a few preseasons games. But against the Atlanta Falcons, he was supposed to play 2 series. He played 3, and it was not very good. 2 of 7 for 42 yards. And Coach Brian Callahan had this to say: "I'm very encouraged. That ball that was dropped was an incredible throw. He's shown all the things we need to see from an operations standpoint." The ball that Coach Callahan is talking about was dropped by Van Jefferson, seeming to be something that's plaguing Van Jefferson right now, but that's not the conversation. I don't believe it's very good when the head coach of a football team starts the conversation with, "That ball that was dropped was an incredible throw." Now, listen, do not get me wrong. 100% of the fault could be on the receiver. And I'm not going to spend an hour breaking down a preseason throw. But 2 of 7 for 43 yards. Probably not it if you're the Tennessee Titans, where your only highlight is a ball that wasn't caught was a really spectacular throw. The depiction of what the Tennessee Titans will be this year in a nutshell. First worst of the weekend goes to Tennessee Titans. Our second worst of the weekend is going to go to the New York Jets quarterback room, okay? So the Jets signed Justin Fields in the offseason, okay, to a 2-year deal. Now, obviously, there were still some question marks around Justin Fields coming from the Chicago Bears and taking over as the New York Jetropolitans coach. They played the Giants over the weekend, and it was not very good. Justin Fields was 1 of 5 for 4 yards. And then Adrian Martinez was 12 of 21 for 114 yards and 1 interception. And Brady Cook, who the hell that is, 6 of 11 for 1 ED. And I'm watching this, and I'm looking at this, and then I read an article last night that says the Jets have also worked out C.J. Beathard and Nathan Peterman. I'm sorry, what are we doing, New York Jetropolitans? That is a loss of all losses. If you go into the season and your quarterback room is Justin Fields, Adrian Martinez, and Brady Cook, you are asking for the same things that have been happening the last 2 years, where we go all in on one quarterback that's really got a lot of question marks on them, and after that, there's no contingency plan. To me, Aaron Glenn is looking at a really, really tough season for the Jets. Now, Justin Fields could figure it out. Him and Garrett Wilson going to get on a ridiculous same page. But right now, that quarterback room, weekend loss for the Jetropolitans. And finally, your final weekend worst for the weekend of August 16th and 17th is the University of Michigan football program. But furthermore, not just the football program, more so than anything else, the people that are being caught up in this. So, University of Michigan has sanctions now that have been dropped down on them because of the Jim Harbaugh, and I forget what that guy's name is, scandal that went on for a little bit. UM now officially has had the sanctions come their way. They have a 4-year probation. They got fines that are going to surpass nearly $30 million. They have recruiting restrictions, which who knows what that even means anymore. And then current head coach Sharon Moore has been suspended for 3 total games, 2 in the 2025 season and 1 in the 2026 season. They've also added a 2-year show clause to his penalty, which essentially means he can't get hired for 2 years outside of UM. Connor Stallions, the guy that orchestrated this entire thing, was given an 8-year show clause order, meaning he's essentially exiled from college football for 8 years. And then some other assistant named Denard Robinson, a 3-year show clause. Here are the fines. $50,000 plus 10% of the football budget, 10% of postseason football revenue from 25 and 26, 10% of scholarships in 25 and 26. So a big deal coming down on University of Michigan. And I think you're about to see, I could be wrong, but I feel like you're about to see Michigan, because of this, trend slightly backwards as they were after Lloyd Carr, or whatever the famous coach's name was, where they went through that 10 or 12 span of, is this even a relevant Division I football team, or do we only care about them because they have the largest stadium in the league? But the sanctions have officially come down on the University of Michigan. It's going to be a lot of money. There's going to be a lot of question marks. And it is definitely, it doesn't matter that you got a natty out of it in 2023. You're not losing any games, which is awesome. The current roster doesn't get screwed outside their head coach, who deserves it because he was an associate head coach at the time. It's a black stain, the black mark. And in today's day, when you can go so many places, we'll see if Michigan can recover from this when instantaneously you take a step below 15 to 25 other programs in the country. Michigan football. That was your 3 worsts of the weekend. Let's get to the fun stuff, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get to the weekend's bags. That's right. Put your hands together for the Little League World Series Classic game. Now, ladies and gentlemen, here is the deal. If you don't know what goes on, that this went on, you didn't see it last night, well, let me tell you about it, okay? Little League and Major League Baseball have come together to make their Players Weekend happen throughout the weekend of the first weekend of the Little League World Series. So Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, if you saw across Major League Baseball, players had cool, crazy bats. And last night in the Little League game, Cal Raleigh had this really cool set of catcher's gear on. They had crazy cleats and arm sleeves and everything cool that you think would look cool for the younger generation of baseball players. Major League Baseball did it over the weekend in their Players Weekend situation, and they end that with a Little League Baseball game played by the Major League Baseballers. They build a field in Williamsport, and last night it was the Mets versus the Mariners, and it was awesome. Outside of the fact that on Friday I told the people that what they need to be watching was the Mets versus the Mariners. That was part of it. The Mets won their second straight game. It was a really good baseball game. You got to see a lot of different stuff, and ultimately really, really cool. You know, we've seen some different stuff from Major League Baseball, kind of mirroring the outdoor classic that hockey has. You know, we saw the cornfield game at the Field of Dreams, but this is now becoming a staple, and it's a staple less about the game of baseball, less about the players at the Major League level and more about growing the game of baseball, especially at the lowest level. This whole weekend is sent around the kids, and Major League Baseball, I feel like I've been doing this more recently, which is good, okay, has shown the ability to have a little bit more fun. And I can kudos them on some things that they are doing. And this Little League game, one of them, really cool. Had a lot of fun watching it last night. There was also a moment in that game where Rob Manfred mentioned that Major League Baseball could be expanding and relocating their teams. Not relocating in the sense of the Mets are now going to be the Missouri Tigers. No, more or less readjusting, better word, the layouts of the divisions so travel is a little bit easier. We'll monitor that story as it comes. But Manfred just kind of dropped that in an interview last night during the Little League game. So that is your best of the weekend number one. Number two, the Reds, they snapped the Brewers' 14-game winning streak. That is right. The Brewers had a historic 14-game winning streak going. Then they played the Reds, and the Reds, who are 65-60 and fighting for that third wild card spot, one game back of the New York Metropolitans, had Austin Hayes hit a single to left field that walked it off in the 10th inning, snapping the Brewers' 14-game winning streak and putting the Reds in a nice spot to keep contending versus the Metsies, who haven't been playing great, but have won 2 of their last 3, which was a series against the Seattle Mariners. The Reds, as I mentioned, 1.5, excuse me now, because that win by the Mets last night, 1.5 back of the third wild card spot. The Mets 66-58. Weekend best, the Reds besting the Milwaukee Brewers. How about we get back to a little bit of football for our third best of the weekend, and that's our guy from the New York Giants, Jackson Dart. Give it to the kid. What a day for the New York Football Giants' new possible star quarterback. When we'll see him, that's up for debate over the next 2.5 to 3.5 weeks. But will he be eventually under center for this Giants team and leading the way for hopefully the near future? Yes. I just don't know if it's going to be in 2025. But last night, 2 nights ago versus the Jets, it makes you want some more. 14-16, 137 yards, and 1 TD, a 123.2 passer rating for Jackson Dart. When you look at what the rookie has done in 2 preseason games, his completion percentage is 74%. He's got 291 passing yards and 2 TDs. 26-35 in the preseason. If you're a Giants fan, if you are somebody that has been longing for the G-men to find another guy under center not named Eli Manning. You might have just found it. Okay, Jackson Dart could be the answer. I don't know if you should play him right away. Up for debate. But by the time the 2026 season starts, I think the only QB1 you're talking about at MetLife Stadium is Jackson Dart, weekend best number 3. Okay, and finally, Scotty Scheffler is really good at golf. And Scotty Scheffler won the BMW championship over the weekend. And that was his 5th victory during the PGA Tour season this year. And I don't know if you know this, but there are not many people on the list of 5-time single season PGA Tour winners. Let's get you the list really quickly. It would be Scotty Scheffler and Tiger Woods. That's the list. Scotty Scheffler and Tiger Woods are the only 2 dudes in the last 40 years to win 2 consecutive seasons of 5 or more tournaments. Scotty Scheffler is doing things that Tiger Woods did. That is something I never thought I would see. You know, when Alexander Ovechkin started to go for the breaking of the Wayne Gretzky goals record, there was a glimpse of that, right? It's like, wow, we never thought we'd see this goal record broken. Now, here we are with Alexander Ovechkin possibly breaking this goals record. In the same breath, I could say that about Tiger Woods. Like, wow, who's going to expect to see another Tiger Woods? Who's going to say to themselves, you know, you could say it, you can guess it, but you're never getting another Tiger Woods, right? And then here comes Scotty Scheffler. And if you think about what he has done, he is the second closest to the weeks on the world's number 1, and he's still like 12 years away. But it's the most resemblant to winning in all different ways. You know he's going to be there on Sunday. If you go into a major, he's like the clear-cut favorite. It might not be identical. He might never get to the exact numbers as Tiger Woods, but Scotty Scheffler is the closest thing to Tiger Woods in my lifetime. To the Tiger Woods in 03, 04, 05, when he was just winning, and you knew he was going to win, and he won every way. At the BMW, Scotty was down by 5 with like 6 to go or something, down by 4 or 5 to go or something like that. Stop me if you've heard this before. And he comes away with the victory, helped by a chip in on hole 17, which was fire. So Scotty Scheffler, the number 1, I'd say, weekend best here on the Rome Show. All right. We hope you enjoyed the weekend's best, weekend's worst today here on the Rome Show. One of my favorite things to do is weekend's best, weekend's worst, and I hope you enjoy it as well. We take a quick commercial break. We come back. We talk about the Indianapolis Colts. 32 teams, 32 days, getting you ready for National Football League season. Andrew Romanell, the Rome Show, back after this.
Welcome to MyBookie. You're ready to create an account and start making money, and we're here to help. And remember, you can get a bonus of up to $1,000 on your first deposit. Now you're ready to bet. Just go to mybookie.ag, visit the sportsbook, click on your bet, and input the amount you want to risk or win in the bet slip. Yes, it's that easy. Just remember, at MyBookie, you play, you win, you get paid.
Need tickets to that next event? Well, at 12 Ounce Sports, we've got them with soccer anywhere in the world. Tickets to any venue, any sport. Want to go to NCAA or NFL football matches? We've got them.
Yeah.
Baseball at every level. Every Power 5 matchup is available. Don't forget, costumes and paint are optional. What's that? You want to go to Broadway? We have those too. Want to jam out? Every concert, every artist. That's right, at 12 Ounce Sports, we've got the tickets for less. 12ozsports.com/tickets. That's 12ouncesports.com/tickets.
Yeah. It's the Rome Show. 12ouncesports.com. Broadcasting live on YouTube and X. I am your host, Andrew Romanella. Be sure to be subscribing to the Romanellas on YouTube. That is the Romanellas on YouTube. September 2nd, the Rome Show will look the same, but the location to find the Rome Show, slightly different. Still YouTube, still X, still Facebook, still trying to make your lives easy. We have 32 teams in 32 days continuing for us here on the Rome Show. For those that have not seen any of this, you better find the Rome Show podcast wherever you get your podcast so you can go listen to some of the old shows. But we are breaking down one National Football League team per day to get you ready for the 2025 NFL season. That can include some statistics, some key losses, some key additions, Andrew's thoughts on how good or bad that football team may be going into the season, and hopefully give you an idea of how the National Football League could shape up. Now, the crazy part about doing stuff like this is there's just zero kind of clout in anything because injuries and other things are a factor. So, for example, 2 weeks ago, I talked about the Los Angeles Chargers. Well, now, 2 weeks later, my prediction for the Chargers could be as well as out the window because their best offensive tackle or guard is now injured. So their best offensive lineman will be out for the entirety of the year. That changes everything, okay? But there is a generality of what you're looking at with each team. You know, we just mentioned how bad the Titans were in the weekend worst, or how bad it looked, okay? Or we talked about the quarterback room of the New York Jets. There are some things you can come to a conclusion on. You can get an idea of, but there are others you just cannot prepare for. And so, much like all of the preseasons heading into September for football, it is crazy how much things change because one injury is the difference maker for some of these teams, or because that player was so important that got injured. Without further ado, let's get back into it. We are talking Indianapolis Colts here on the Rome Show. 32 teams in 32 days. All right, here we go. Last year, the Colts finished the season at 8-9. However, there were way too many question marks on this team, especially offensively, because you have arguably one of the best running games in the National Football League led by Jonathan Taylor, okay? You have pieces to be a 10-win plus football team. But for the last 2 years, now heading into 3, you have been trying to figure out who your starting quarterback is. This dates back to as far as, remember the Phillip Rivers moment that happened in Indy a few years ago? I feel like ever since Andrew Luck came to an early retirement, it has been a little bit of a scramble in the world of the Indianapolis Colts to try and figure out who the hell's going to be our quarterback. Well, 2 years ago, Anthony Richardson steps up as a rookie, and there's some excitement there. Not great, not terrible. Well, now there's a legitimate quarterback battle in Indianapolis between Anthony Richardson and Danny Dimes, Daniel Jones. Okay? That, to me, tells you everything you need to know about the Indianapolis Colts. If there's legitimately a chance where Daniel Jones is the starting quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts to start the year, this is a bad season for the Colts. I'm not saying that Daniel Jones can't figure it out. Alex Smith is his thing. The first 7 years of Alex Smith's career, he was atrocious. Then all of a sudden, people are asking to trade for him in year 14 and 15 because that's how much better he got, or at least improved to the point of being a top 30 starter in the league. Right now, Anthony Richardson's probably worse than some teams' backup quarterbacks. That's not good. So you can't look any farther than the quarterback position for the Colts as to what is going to happen, because they have the running game. 1,400 yards on the ground, I think 11 touchdowns for Jonathan Taylor last season. So we'll see what happens. So that's the first question. Second thing is, no matter who is playing center for the Colts, no matter who is playing in what position, this team needs to be better on the road. 8-9 last year, but 3-6 away from the Dome in Indianapolis. That is a huge factor when it comes to being not just a playoff contender, a legitimate playoff contender. Got to find a way to play better on the road. And defensively, wow, there needs to be some adjustments. So again, going back to the conversation about how important the quarterback is, they're so far away from having what feels like a legitimate franchise quarterback right now, the Colts, that they can't even begin to entertain how poor their defense was as well last year. Here are some of the numbers, important numbers, on the 2024 Colts defense. 28th in total defense per game, 29th in third down efficiency, and last in the league in missed tackles. They've revamped their secondary. They have a new defensive coordinator. I believe the dude came from Cincinnati. He's like big on blitz schemes and stuff like that. Nonetheless, though, it's a whole new defense, but a bottom five defense should, in theory, not get worse. So, at the end of the day, if you're looking at the Indianapolis Colts, it really comes down to two things. A, is the quarterback viable enough to be top 15 in the league? We're not asking for Patrick Mahomes. We are just asking for Joe Flacco the year the Baltimore Ravens went to the Super Bowl. Okay, that's a number one. And number two is, can Lou Maruno, the new DC for this team, and all of these new pieces, okay, including Khalil Herbert, Charvarius Ward, Cameron Bynum, all these guys on defense, can those two things show up? Because an 8-9 football team last year, in not necessarily the greatest conference in the world, really could come out here and surprise some people. Okay, so if I am a Colts fan, those are the only two things I'm looking at. And if one of them starts to answer itself in the first 4 to 6 weeks, personally, I would hope it's the defense, because I don't believe either Daniel Jones or Anthony Richardson are your franchise quarterback. Do you want them to be good enough to have a good enough year? Sure. But do I think that they will be there long term? Absolutely not. So I got your Indianapolis Colts going nowhere but 8-9 again. I just think it seems like not addressing what they need to address under center, and then on top of that, just knowing that there's so many new pieces on defense for this team and a new defensive coordinator, I think it'll be very hard for them to be much better than the 500 team they were last year. Tomorrow, we finish the AFC South with, I believe it's the Houston Texans is the only team we have not done. So as we have done through the first three divisions, when we get to this fourth one finished, we will not only predict what we think the Texans will do, but we will also predict what the AFC South will finish up as. So make sure you join us tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's the Rome Show. 12ouncesports.com, broadcasting live on YouTube and X. Follow the Romanellos on YouTube in preparation for our September 2nd station change. And the Rome Show 1, Instagram, Facebook, X, and TikTok. I'm Andrew Romanello. You have an electric Monday. It's a great way to start your week. And until tomorrow, Peace.
Thank you for listening.